Have you ever wondered why certain men are remembered long after they're gone, while others fade into obscurity despite their desperate attempts to be noticed? There's an inexplicable force at work here, gentlemen, a power that transcends time, trends, and the fleeting nature of fame. Today, we're diving deep into something extraordinary. We're talking about the immortal quality of the Sigma male, that rare breed of man who doesn't chase legacy, but somehow becomes one. These men don't beg for attention, yet they occupy permanent real estate in people's minds. They don't force their way into history books, yet their influence echoes through generations. This isn't about narcissism or ego. This is about understanding the profound psychological and social mechanisms that make certain men unforgettable. And if you're watching this, chances are you've felt it. That pull toward becoming someone who matters, not for validation, but because your very existence demands to be remembered. Before we begin this journey, I want you to do something for yourself. Subscribe to this channel. Why? Because we're building a brotherhood here, a community of men who refuse to be ordinary, who understand that true power isn't loud, it's undeniable. Hit that subscribe button, because the insights we share here will fundamentally change how you see yourself and your place in this world. Let's unlock the secrets of immortal influence. 1. The silent presence that echoes louder than words. Let me tell you about a man I once observed at a high-stakes business conference. While everyone else was networking aggressively, exchanging business cards like poker chips, shaking hands with exaggerated enthusiasm, there was one man sitting alone at the corner table. He wasn't on his phone trying to look important. He wasn't fidgeting or appearing anxious about being alone. He was simply present, observing, thinking. Within an hour, 3 different groups had approached him. Not because he wore the most expensive suit or had the loudest voice in the room, but because his silence created a vacuum that people felt compelled to fill. That, gentlemen, is the first inexplicable power of the Sigma male. The world has taught men that they need to be loud to be heard, that they need to constantly assert themselves, dominate conversations, and make sure everyone knows they're in the room. But here's what they don't understand. Noise is cheap. Silence is expensive. And the Sigma male has mastered the art of strategic silence that makes people lean in rather than tune out. Think about the most memorable people in your life. Were they the ones who never stopped talking? Or were they the ones whose words carried weight because they chose them carefully? When a Sigma speaks, people listen, not because he demands attention, but because his silence has already earned their respect. This silent presence operates on multiple psychological levels. First, it triggers curiosity. Human beings are hardwired to wonder about mysteries, and a man comfortable in his own silence is a mystery waiting to be solved. Second, it projects confidence. Only insecure men need constant validation through conversation. A Sigma's silence screams self-assurance. Third, it creates authority. Leaders who speak less but say more are perceived as more competent and trustworthy. Let me give you a practical example from history. When Steve Jobs would present new products, he mastered the art of the pause. He'd make a statement, then let silence hang in the air, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. Those pauses weren't accidents. They were calculated moments of power. The silence made his words immortal. But here's what separates the Sigma from someone who's just quiet. Intentionality. The Sigma isn't silent because he's shy or afraid. He's silent because he understands that words have value, and inflation devalues everything, including speech. He speaks when he has something worth saying, not because social convention demands he fill awkward silence. This creates a paradox that cements his place in people's memories. The less he says, the more they remember what he said. When everyone else is screaming into the void, the whisper becomes deafening. Your homework? Start practicing strategic silence. In your next meeting or social gathering, resist the urge to fill every gap in conversation. Observe, listen, And when you do speak, make sure it's something that adds genuine value. Watch how the dynamic shifts. Watch how people start seeking your input rather than you having to force it into the conversation. The silent presence doesn't fade from memory. It echoes through it, growing louder with time. 2. The unshakable authenticity that defies manipulation. In a world drowning in filters, facades, and carefully curated personas, there's one thing that cuts through all the noise like a knife through butter: raw, unfiltered authenticity. And this, gentlemen, is the second immortal quality of the Sigma male. Let me paint you a picture. Think about the people you admire most. Not celebrities, not influencers, but real people who've left marks on your soul. I guarantee you they weren't perfect. They weren't polished. They were real. They showed you their edges, their contradictions, their humanity, and that's exactly why you can't forget them. The Sigma male doesn't play the social game of pretending to be what others want him to be. He doesn't mold himself to fit into different groups like a chameleon changing colors. He is who he is, consistently, unapologetically, and without negotiation. This isn't stubbornness. It's integrity at its highest level. Here's what most men don't understand. People have incredibly sophisticated detection systems for fakeness. We can smell inauthenticity from miles away. It's an evolutionary survival mechanism. When someone is performing, putting on a show, trying too hard to impress, we instinctively distrust them. But when someone is genuinely themselves, flaws and all, we're magnetically drawn to them. I'll give you a powerful example. Think about Keanu Reeves. This man has become legendary not because he plays superheroes or action heroes on screen, but because off-screen, he's the same humble, genuine person, regardless of his massive success. He takes the subway, he eats lunch on park benches, he treats everyone with respect. That authenticity has made him more immortal than any movie role ever could. The Sigma's authenticity manifests in 3 critical ways. First, he doesn't change his values based on who's watching. His moral compass isn't negotiable. Whether he's in a boardroom with executives or having coffee with a stranger, his core principles remain unchanged. This consistency creates trust, and trust creates lasting impressions. Second, he owns his imperfections without apology or excessive explanation. He doesn't pretend to be flawless. When he makes mistakes, he acknowledges them, learns from them, and moves forward. This vulnerability, true vulnerability, not the performative kind, makes him human and therefore memorable. Third, he refuses to manipulate or be manipulated. He doesn't use emotional games, guilt trips, or social pressure to get what he wants. He states his truth clearly and lets others make their own decisions. This directness is refreshing in a world full of hidden agendas. Here's a practical scenario. Imagine you're in a business meeting where everyone is agreeing with the boss's terrible idea because they want to stay in his good graces. The Sigma doesn't do this. He'll respectfully present his genuine perspective, backed by logic and facts, regardless of whether it's popular. He might say, "I understand where you're coming from, but here's why I think this approach could create problems," and then lay out his reasoning. Does this make him universally liked? No. Does this make him unforgettable? Absolutely, because here's the thing about authenticity. It gives people permission to be authentic too. The Sigma becomes a beacon for others who are tired of wearing masks. He becomes that person they think about when they're struggling with whether to compromise their values. He becomes the standard they measure themselves against. And that, gentlemen, is immortality. Not being remembered for being perfect, but being remembered for being real. Your assignment: identify one area of your life where you're not being fully authentic. Maybe you're agreeing with opinions you don't share. Maybe you're hiding parts of your personality to fit in. Maybe you're exaggerating your accomplishments or downplaying your struggles. Choose one area and commit to bringing more authenticity to it this week. Watch what happens. Watch how the right people gravitate toward you while the wrong ones fall away. Watch how your interactions become more meaningful and memorable. Authenticity isn't just attractive, it's unforgettable, and an unforgettable man is an immortal one. 3. The selective impact that creates lasting impressions. Now we arrive at one of the most misunderstood aspects of the Sigma male's immortal power: selectivity. While the world preaches that you need to help everyone, be everywhere, and spread yourself thin to make a difference, the Sigma understands a different truth: depth over breadth, quality over quantity. Let me ask you something. Would you rather be vaguely remembered by 1,000 people or profoundly remembered by 10? The Sigma chooses the latter every single time, and this choice is what separates memorable men from forgettable ones. Think about it like this. Imagine two men at a networking event. The first man works the entire room, shaking hands with everyone, having surface-level conversations, collecting business cards like they're going out of style. He's friendly, energetic, and seemingly connected. The second man has 3 deep conversations with 3 carefully chosen individuals. He listens intently, asks meaningful questions, and creates genuine connections. A week later, who do you think those 3 people remember? Who do you think they're calling when they need someone they can trust? The man who spent 5 minutes with everyone, or the man who spent 30 minutes truly seeing them? This is the power of selective impact. The Sigma male doesn't scatter his energy like seeds in the wind. He's a precision instrument, not a shotgun. He chooses where to invest his time, his knowledge, his emotional energy, and his presence. And because he chooses carefully, his impact cuts deep. Here's what happens psychologically when you encounter a Sigma's selective attention. You feel chosen, you feel special, you feel seen. And humans never forget the people who make them feel that way. Let me give you a historical example. Mr. Rogers, the children's television host, had this incredible ability to make every single child feel like they were the only person in the world that mattered when he spoke to them. He didn't try to reach millions simultaneously in person. He reached them individually through genuine care and presence. Decades later, grown adults still cry, remembering how he made them feel. That's selective impact creating immortal memories. The Sigma applies this principle across all areas of his life. In relationships, he doesn't maintain superficial friendships with hundreds. He has a tight circle of people he deeply invests in. Those people would go to war for him because they know he'd do the same for them. In his career, he doesn't say yes to every opportunity. He chooses projects that align with his values and where he can make genuine contributions. This focus makes him exceptional at what he does, rather than mediocre at many things. In mentorship, he doesn't try to save everyone. He identifies individuals with genuine potential and desire for growth, then pours wisdom into them. Those people carry his teachings forward, multiplying his impact across generations. Here's a crucial distinction. Selective doesn't mean elitist or exclusionary. It means intentional. The Sigma isn't rejecting people based on arbitrary criteria. He's making strategic choices about where his finite energy will create the most meaningful impact. Let me give you a modern example. Warren Buffett famously limits his meetings and commitments, choosing to spend deep time on decisions and relationships that truly matter. He doesn't attend every conference, speak at every event, or take every meeting request. His selectivity has made his attention incredibly valuable. When he invests time in something, people know it matters. This creates a paradox. By doing less, he accomplishes more. By helping fewer people, he helps them more profoundly. By being selective, he becomes unforgettable to those he chooses. Here's your practical application. Take inventory of your commitments this week. How many of them are shallow obligations you said yes to out of guilt, social pressure, or FOMO? How many conversations are you having that drain your energy without adding real value to anyone's life? Start practicing selective yes. When someone asks for your time or energy, pause and ask yourself, can I bring genuine value here? Will this interaction be meaningful for both of us? Does this align with my priorities? If the answer is no, decline gracefully but firmly. Then, take that reclaimed energy and invest it deeply in fewer things. Have fewer but longer conversations. Take on fewer but more meaningful projects. Build fewer but stronger relationships. Watch what happens. You won't be everything to everyone, but you'll be unforgettable to the right people. And those right people will carry your memory forward, telling stories about the man who truly saw them, who truly helped them, who truly made a difference in their lives. That's not just impact. That's immortality through selective excellence. The Sigma doesn't try to be remembered by everyone. He ensures he's unforgettable to the ones who matter. 4. The mysterious detachment that fuels fascination. Let's talk about something that might seem counterintuitive, the power of not being fully known. While everyone else is posting their entire lives on social media, oversharing every thought and feeling, broadcasting their location and activities 24/7, the Sigma male maintains something increasingly rare, mystery. And mystery, gentlemen, is the fuel that keeps memory alive long after the person is gone. Think about the people you can't stop thinking about. I'll bet they're not the ones who've told you every detail of their lives. They're the ones with layers you haven't fully uncovered, the ones who revealed themselves in glimpses rather than exhibitions, the ones who kept you wondering, questioning, wanting to know more. This is the 4th immortal power of the Sigma, strategic detachment that creates perpetual fascination. Now let me be crystal clear about what this isn't. This isn't being cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. This isn't playing games or manipulating people's emotions. This is about understanding that value increases with scarcity, and when you're an open book with nothing left to discover, people stop reading. The Sigma male maintains mystery in several sophisticated ways. First, he controls his narrative. He doesn't feel compelled to explain himself, justify his choices, or provide a running commentary on his life. When asked about his weekend, he might say it was good, rather than a 15-minute breakdown of every meal, activity, and thought he had. This doesn't make him secretive. It makes him selective about what he shares and with whom. Second, he lives internally before he lives externally. His thoughts, plans, and emotions are processed privately before they're shared publicly, if they're shared at all. This creates depth. When he does open up, there's substance there, not just surface-level noise. Third, he disappears strategically. He's not always available, always online, always responding instantly. He has periods of deep focus, solitude, and disconnection where he's unreachable. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about having a life rich enough that people aren't the center of it. Let me give you a powerful example from cinema. Think about why characters like James Bond or Tyler Durden from Fight Club are so memorable. It's not just their actions, it's that we never fully know their backstories, their inner worlds, their complete motivations. That incompleteness keeps us thinking about them long after the movie ends. Here's the psychological mechanism at work. The human brain is wired to complete patterns and solve puzzles. When someone gives us everything up front, our brain files them away and moves on. Puzzle solved, nothing more to figure out. But when someone maintains elements of mystery, our brain keeps working on them in the background, trying to piece together the full picture. This keeps them alive in our thoughts. The Sigma understands this at an instinctive level. He knows that people treasure what they have to work for, and that includes understanding him. He doesn't make it impossible, but he doesn't make it effortless either. A practical example from the business world: think about Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. Nobody knows who this person or group is. This mystery hasn't diminished the impact of Bitcoin, it's enhanced the legend around it. The unknown creator is now immortal precisely because they remained unknown. But here's where it gets sophisticated. The Sigma doesn't withhold randomly. He's strategic about what he reveals and when. He shares moments of vulnerability and truth, which makes those moments more powerful because they're rare. When everyone overshares, genuine sharing becomes devalued. When the Sigma shares something real, it's an event. Think about it like this. If a friend posts 60 Instagram stories a day, you stop watching them. But if that quiet friend who rarely posts anything shares something, you pay attention. Scarcity creates value. This detachment also protects the Sigma's energy and autonomy. By not being fully enmeshed in every social circle, every drama, every trending conversation, he maintains independence. People can't manipulate what they don't fully understand. They can't pressure someone who isn't desperate for their approval. Here's your practical implementation. Start practicing strategic mystery. This doesn't mean becoming closed off. It means being more intentional about what you share, when you share it, and with whom. Try this exercise. The next time someone asks you a personal question, pause before automatically answering. Ask yourself, does this person need to know this? Will sharing this create value, or am I just filling silence? Sometimes the answer is, I'd rather not get into that, or it's complicated, or simply redirecting the conversation. Reduce your digital footprint. You don't need to document every moment. Let people wonder what you're up to sometimes. Create gaps in your availability. Have experiences that you don't immediately broadcast. Maintain some thoughts just for yourself. Not everything needs to be shared, discussed, or validated by others. Your inner world should be richer than your outer presentation. The result? People will think about you more, not less. They'll wonder about you, want to know more about you, and remember the glimpses you gave them more vividly than if you'd given them the whole picture at once. Mystery isn't about hiding who you are. It's about understanding that the most valuable things are discovered, not displayed. The Sigma becomes immortal in people's memories because they never fully finish figuring him out. And what we can't fully understand, we can never fully forget. 5. The legacy built through actions, not proclamations. Here's a truth that will set you free. Nobody remembers what you said you were going to do. They only remember what you actually did. This is the 5th immortal power of the Sigma male. Understanding that legacy is built in the doing, not in the declaring. While other men are busy announcing their intentions, making grand proclamations, the Sigma is in the shadows actually building. Let me be direct. Words are cheap and easily forgotten. Actions are expensive, rare, and permanently etched in memory. When you announce your intentions, you get a dopamine hit from people's reactions. Your brain rewards you as if you've already accomplished the thing. This reduces your motivation to follow through. Consider Nikola Tesla. While Edison was promoting himself and making public declarations, Tesla was in his laboratory actually inventing the future. Tesla didn't need to tell people he was a genius. His inventions did that for him. Over a century later, we name cars after him, not after the men who talked louder. The Sigma's approach operates on 3 levels. First, he lets his work speak for itself. He doesn't inflate his accomplishments or name-drop his achievements. When people discover what he's done, and they will, it's more impressive because it comes from others, not from him. Second, he focuses on substance over perception. He'd rather actually be excellent than appear excellent. This means investing time in real skill development and meaningful creation, rather than managing his image. Third, he plays the long game. He's building things that will matter in 10, 20, 50 years. This patience is powerful because most people quit when results don't come immediately. Christopher Nolan, the filmmaker, doesn't have social media. He doesn't hype his upcoming movies. He just makes exceptional films. Every time he releases one, it becomes an event because his previous work built a foundation of trust and quality. That's legacy through action. The Sigma understands that true legacy is measured in impact, not attention. He's more concerned with how many lives he's changed than how many followers he has. Here's your challenge. For the next 30 days, practice radical silence about your goals. Don't announce your new workout plan. Just show up to the gym. Don't post about the business you're starting. Just build it. Don't tell people about the skill you're learning. Just practice until you're undeniably good. When people ask what you've been up to, learn to say, just working on some things, and leave it at that. 6 months from now, people will notice you're different. They'll see your results. And when you quietly share your process, they'll remember you as the person who actually does things, not just talks about them. That reputation, that's immortality. Not because you shouted about your journey, but because you walked it silently and arrived at a destination worth noticing. Your legacy isn't what you say you'll become. It's what you consistently do when nobody's watching. Action is the only language that history understands. Speak it fluently. 6. The timeless independence that inspires generations. We've arrived at the final and perhaps most powerful immortal quality, the kind of independence that doesn't just set you free, it shows others the way to their own freedom. This isn't shallow independence. This is profound self-sufficiency emotionally, mentally, financially, and spiritually. It's being a lighthouse in a storm, not trying to guide others, but standing firm on your own foundation while everything else gets tossed around. The Sigma's independence operates on 4 dimensions. Mental independence. He thinks for himself. He doesn't outsource his opinions to the crowd or popular consensus. He questions everything, including his own beliefs, and updates his understanding based on evidence and logic. Emotional independence. His happiness and self-worth aren't dependent on external validation. He doesn't crumble when criticized or inflate when praised. His emotional center is internal. Financial independence. He builds systems and skills that make him less dependent on any single source of income. This isn't about wealth. It's about resilience. He can walk away from situations that don't serve him. Social independence. He doesn't need to belong to any group to feel validated. He's comfortable alone. He can navigate any social circle without needing to belong to it. Marcus Aurelius had absolute power as Roman emperor, yet he wrote about independence from that very power. Independence from others' opinions, from luxury, from fear and desire. 2,000 years later, we still read his thoughts, because that level of independence is rare and inspiring. Here's what makes this immortal. It gives people permission to be free. When others see you living independently, not rebelling but simply operating on your own terms, something awakens in them. They start questioning their own dependencies. That question, once planted, never goes away. You become the example they return to mentally whenever they're considering breaking free. But true independence requires discipline, not just desire. The Sigma does the hard work, developing multiple income streams, learning valuable skills, building savings, cultivating emotional resilience, creating a life philosophy that guides him. Your practical path. Build mental independence. Question opinions, especially those everyone knows are true. Think with your own thoughts. Develop financial independence progressively. Start a side income. Save aggressively. Invest wisely. Cultivate emotional independence. Notice when you seek validation. Work on an internal scorecard. Practice social independence. Become comfortable with solitude. Prove you're complete on your own. Here's the beautiful paradox. The more independent you become, the better your relationships are. When you're with people by choice rather than need, connections are deeper and more authentic. The Sigma's timeless independence doesn't isolate him. It elevates everyone around him by showing what's possible. He becomes that reference point people return to mentally when struggling with dependency. I once knew a man who was truly free, they'll say. He showed me it was possible. That's immortality. The world has enough dependent people looking for someone to follow. It needs more independent people showing others how to lead themselves. Be that person. Build that independence. Because when you die, people won't remember how well you fit into their expectations. They'll remember how you showed them they didn't have to fit into anyone's expectations either. The Sigma's greatest legacy is the independence he inspires in others. And that inspiration, it echoes through generations. Gentlemen, we've just explored something most men will never understand: the inexplicable power that makes Sigma men immortal in everyone's memory. This isn't magic, this isn't luck, this is the natural result of living with unwavering authenticity, strategic presence, and purposeful action. You see, the world is full of men trying to be remembered. They shout, they perform, they beg for attention. But the Sigma? He simply exists on his own terms, and that existence becomes impossible to forget. His silence speaks volumes. His authenticity can't be replicated. His selective impact cuts deeper than anyone else's constant presence. His mystery keeps people thinking about him years later. His actions build legacies that outlive him. His independence becomes a blueprint for those who come after. This is your inheritance if you choose to claim it. Not through imitation, but through understanding these principles and living them in your unique way. Now, I need you to do something important. If this resonated with you, if you felt that spark of recognition, that knowing that you're meant for more than mediocrity, subscribe to this channel right now. Don't do it for me. Do it for the man you're becoming. This channel is your resource, your guide, your reminder that you're not alone in this journey toward becoming unforgettable. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join the thousands of Sigma males who are rewriting the rules of influence and legacy. Because the world needs more men who understand this power. Men like you. The question isn't whether you'll be remembered. The question is, what will you be remembered for? Stay strong, stay authentic, stay Sigma.